Hi, this is Jim Eckert, and the reason I'm making this video is not because I'm some great YouTuber, but just because I couldn't find one that matched my particular car, my wife's car process. This is the part that I purchased. I got this one from Rock Auto. Again, this is the front or passenger side motor mount. This is a 2012 R59 Mini Roadster base model. And I couldn't find any video that showed this. This is it. So this is under the brace. So if I look at right here, this is the bracket. And it's under this brace, and unfortunately it's also where the headlight is mounted. So it's just, to move this out of the way, you have to take several things apart. And let's show that. But the mount itself is right under this, and this one bolt does that. This is a view from really kind of the windshield side, looking out from the passenger side of the windshield. And there's a ground strap here along with these other attachments. So the first thing I did was to disconnect the ground terminal of the battery. And I saw this in another video, just covered it with a glove to make sure it didn't reconnect during this process. Now, in this process, the brace, somebody may know how to do this differently. The only way I could see is to move this brace, which meant the headlight and other items to be removed. Fortunately, nothing broke. Everything came apart and went together just great. This under this bolt is the adjuster, so I didn't touch anything under there. I just removed the bolt. Now on the front, you have to move these push connectors. Just pry them out very carefully. There are two on this side, two on the other side, and also this is a T30. These are hinge bolts. Hood latch bolts, and you've got to pull those out to be able to move this bracket because those cables are pretty well bound in to the framework. Push pin again right here for the windshield washer support. And then you've got these two. These are 13 millimeter bolts. There are two at this side and two at the other side. And then here is for the headlight. And I left the cable here. There was no reason. I just had to slide it to the side, so there's no reason to have to move this. The headlights have a 10 millimeter bolt up here, 10 millimeter bolt up here. This is the headlight adjuster. And then 10 millimeter here, and another one on the side. You can't see it here, but it's right on this side. Those four come out, and then the headlight just kind of lifts, and you can slide it to the side. There's an electrical connector back here at the corner, and if you press on the top, you squeeze the top and the bottom of that connector and kind of wiggle it, it'll come off, and that'll make it easier to get the bracket off. I just didn't want to break this bracket while I'm trying to slide this brace around to get to that mount. I don't want to be buying headlights. So this shows that this brace now, it's just been kind of moving out of the side. I didn't have to take out these little bumpers for the hood or anything else, but I did. You notice all the hood latches are out, the grill is disconnected, and so forth. And right here, again, this is the bracket. So at this point, I waited until now so I'd make it easier to just reach over and get stuff. But now I've got to put the car up on jack stands, use the lifting points near the front, behind the front wheels on both sides. And then I had a separate jack stand, and you notice right here is the oil pan. So I've got a 2 before, 1 before. It just happened to work that way. Yours may be different. And this is a drain plug. So I didn't want to put pressure on the drain plug, so I made sure I just missed it, but supported the oil pan so it would take the weight of the engine, not let it drop too far when I removed the motor mount. So the middle here is a 19 millimeter. These are 13 millimeter. And then this is also a 13 millimeter for this ground strap. And I removed these pretty evenly, so the engine would drop pretty much straight down, and it wouldn't, the bracket and the bolts wouldn't bind as I was removing them. So it took a little bit longer, and I used just a hand tool rather than using an impact wrench. And again, you see now this bolt is off, but this is the one that attaches. The motor mount is this bolt coming up, and then this attaches to the engine block. So this bracket just sits over the motor mount, and the engine weight holds it down. Now with this bolt, I think I'll show you in the next slide. Make sure to keep your finger under here when you remove this strap. You need to get it out of the way to get the bracket out, so you can get the motor mount out easily. But make sure you put your finger under here, because this bolt comes up from underneath and it could fall down who knows where in the engine. Also, here's one of the two motor mount bracket bolts. This is the 16, and the 13 is on the other side, which is down at this part. Now I pulled this is the new one, and this is the old one. You can see it's compressed some, so it's not as high. This is as I understand, it's hydraulic filled. And anyway, it didn't look as bad as I thought it might look. As the issue has been, apparently the engine's been rotating enough that it's wearing out the sixth gear, and we've had to replace the transmission because the sixth gear wouldn't stay engaged. It would pop out of gear going up a hill or accelerating. So this was recommended to try to help it. Now when you're going back in, it's really nice. That center bolt, the one that I showed you that bolts on the motor mount, that opening has an angle to it. So you can tilt this bracket as it goes back in. You can kind of wiggle it back. And also, once you have this thing disconnected, you've got the motor mount, that motor mount replaced. You've got those bolts in and tight. To put this on, it allows you to angle it, and then the engine is going to be able to move. You don't have to worry about it being exactly in line, because you can physically move it back and forth some, so you line the bolts. I recommend leaving this bolt to last. I put this one in when this one was starting to bind. I didn't want to cross thread with this aluminum, so I put in a couple other bolts and this bolt to make sure it was exactly in line, and then I just pushed this with the other hand. I pushed this hose out of the way a little bit because the connector was kind of a pain. And then I got that well threaded before I put a tool on it, just threading it by hand. And also as I loosen those bolts evenly, I also try to tighten them evenly to lift the engine up and make sure also that they wouldn't bind or tend to strip any of the threads rubbing against the bracket. Just when you put this back, just remember after focusing on motor mount, I was about to try to put this on the outside of the grill, and nothing was fitting. So just make sure it's back inside this grill fit, and then the push pins will go in, and you'll put those bolts back in the hood latches, and it all goes better. I was fortunate; nothing broke. None of the plastic push pins, the connectors broke. None of the there was talk on some models of the headlight adjusters breaking. Didn't have any issue with that. But here's the motor mount. I obviously haven't put the headlight back in, so you can still see it. So there's the 13 millimeter on this side and the 16 here. The ground strap's back in place. Here's the 19 on top, and then back this brace is put back in, and I'm ready to go back in with the headlight. There's two little bolts. These are 10 millimeter also as you're going around. But I hope this is helpful. I guess it took me, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that, to do this. Mostly because I've never done it before, and also because it just required a number of things to come apart. If I can help you in some way, don't hesitate to give me an email or follow me on Twitter. And again, I hope this is a great experience for you, and it helps you out.